What is up, everyone? It's Justin Parnell back again with another deck tech. Today we have Jund in Gladiator. And if you want to learn more about Gladiator on Magic Arena, you can check out my Intro to Gladiator video right here. But before we start 2-for-1ing our way to victory, help the channel out by taking a second to like and subscribe to keep seeing this sweet content every week. So give your thanks to Saint Bloodbraid Elf, because we're going to make that value engine hum, baby. So I want to cover 3 things. What cards the deck wants, how does this deck want to win, and what cards are critical to the success of this deck. So then what exactly is in this deck? What categories of cards does this deck want? When you think of Jund, in any format, you probably think of value-generating creatures. And well, Jund in Gladiator is no different. We have plenty of creatures in the mid-game that provide raw card advantage by mostly just existing. Cards like Tenacious Underdog, Augur of Autumn, Seasoned Pyromancer, Tireless Tracker, and Acolyte of Affliction all draw us cards in some way, shape, or form. Of course, something else that Jund is known for is ending the game with huge top-end threats, and well, we got no shortage of those either. And all of Elder Gargaroth, Kroxa, Titan of Death's Hunger, Wormcoil Engine, Sheoldred the Apocalypse, and Phyrexian Fleshgorger are board warping, and each require unique methods to permanently deal with them before they close out the game. Jund is the absolute master of interactive games, so it's no surprise that we pack a ton of interactivity in our 100 cards. We have discard spells like Thoughtseize, Inquisition of Kozilek, and Mindspike, single target creature removal like Infernal Grasp, Obliterating Bolt, and Doomblade, and creature board sweepers like Culling Ritual, Crux of Fate, and the Meathook Massacre. And even beyond those cards, this deck is filled with incredibly versatile removal options. Lots of our removal hits at least 3 permanent types, with most hitting more. Bedevil, Assassin's Trophy, Maelstrom Pulse, and Binding of the Old Gods all let you deal with a wide swath of problems. And Riveteer's Charm, Kolaghan's Command, and Soul Transfer might be a little more narrow in what they can remove, but they make up for it with secondary modes that can still perform if the battlefield is clear. Something that I've included in my Jund deck is a pretty small Snow Matters package. It provides us with some extra removal, and it doesn't really alter the mana base to do so. We have 13 snow lands, including Faceless Haven to turn on Blizzard Brawl, Frostbite, and Blood on the Snow, with Into the North acting as a powerful mana-fixing spell. This isn't a requirement of the deck, but adding a 4th creature land, 2 cheap pieces removal, and another sweeper is exactly what we want to be doing. And last but definitely not least, we have our group of incredibly powerful black, red, and green Planeswalkers. All 8 of these Planeswalkers fall into one of 2 groups. The mainly for value group has Chandra Heart of Fire, Sorin the Mirthless, Liliana of the Veil, and Vraska Golgari Queen. While the This is a must-answer threat within a turn or 2 group has Chandra Torch of Defiance, Liliana Dreadhorde General, Minsc and Boo, Timeless Heroes, and Nissa Who Shakes the World. The first group is pretty good to play out whenever they line up on curve, and the second group should be protected a bit more as they will take over the game very quickly. So we have all of the tools and 3 colors of Magic at our fingertips. What combination of cards will make this even easier for us? You need a lot of mana for this deck to function. Hitting your land drops are critically important, so it's very risky to keep a 2-land hand unless you can cast most of the rest of the spells in it. And the later we get into the game, the more important it is to have plenty of lands, as that's when we're able to pull away with our card advantage engines, all of which require a decent amount of mana. Note the lands that enter the battlefield tapped, and make sure you do your best to avoid playing them in the wrong order. Our curve for creatures is consistent with the whole curve of the deck, which means as we start to approach 6+ mana, we need to look at how efficiently we can cast 2 spells a turn. You know, since we've hit our land drops. Maximizing your mana between threats and interaction is more important here than it is in most other decks. And that's the reason I love this deck so much. Because unlike an aggro deck, we have a ton of removal, and unlike a control deck, we can present threats at every turn of the game. You're able to act as either a control deck or an aggressive deck depending on the matchup better than any other archetype. Use this to your advantage. There is no deck where the removal is as versatile as Jund, but not every single spell can remove every type of problem. Within the deck, you will always have a solution, but you don't always have that solution in your hand. Remember that, and do your best to use your narrower removal first and save the more versatile removal for problematic permanents like artifacts or enchantments down the road. Now for some of my favorite mini combos of the deck. A Seek's Chariot and Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Copy a creature, then make another copy of it with the Chariot. Sejiki Jukai Visionary and Acolyte of Affliction or Kolaghan's Command. Continually recur large chunks of your graveyard in the late game. And Tireless Tracker and Vraska Golgari Queen. Make a treasure, then sacrifice them to Vraska and you still get to grow the tracker. So what cards can you not do without when playing this deck? What are the must-craft cards with your wild cards? Jund, like most Gladiator decks, is fairly customizable when it comes to specific card selection. But one thing you do want to keep in mind for this deck is that the curve is more important than the specific cards. You want to try to keep your 2-cost, 3-cost, and 4-cost cards roughly even, with maybe a little bit hedging to extra 2-cost cards. And the removal is very interchangeable, though I do recommend having a few specific cards. Crux of Fate, Kolaghan's Command, and the Meathook Massacre as some of your best removal, as is Bonecrusher Giant and Murderous Rider. And the threats, a lot like the removal, is fairly replaceable. There are a few that I think are more important than most, those being Mintskin Boo, Chandra Torch of Defiance, and one of Phyrexian Flesh Scourger or Wormcoil Engine. I like to think that Tireless Tracker is pretty important in that regard too. But a really big one for Jund is the mana base. And this is something that we can't really get around because if we want to be able to cast our spells freely, we need to have mana base efficiency. The ones that you just have to craft are all 3 shock lands, all 3 of the 3 or more lands, all 3 of the pathways, all 3 of the buddy lands, and Zayatora's Proving Ground. And I know I just told you 13 cards that you need to craft in just this section, but land and mana bases are usually the most worthwhile crafts in Arena, so I definitely think that you're going to get your money's worth out of them. And with that, I think that you are ready to get Junding. Thank you all so much for your support and for watching to the end of the video. Make sure to follow me on my social media channels right here, and of course, remember to like this video and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any great Gladiator content, Commander content, or more. And if you want to see more Gladiator, make sure to check out the Gladiator playlist where I have deck techs and live gameplay. Thank you all so much. I'm Justin Parnell. We'll see you next time. Yo, it is over for the rest of the decks when this deck gets Bloodbraid Elf. It's got to be coming. Historic Anthology like 47 or something. We just got to wait. We just got to be patient.